In this lesson for geography, we will look at the structure of the earth. Stay tuned. If you look on your screen now, you're going to see a diagram of the earth, but it kind of cut out like a cake slice. And because it's cut this way, we can see the layers that makes up the earth. And this diagram is provided for you on Google Classroom, so you can just download it and print it and stick it onto your notes. Or you can draw it, up to you. So the first layer of the earth is the crust. And as you can see, this is the first outer layer, the shell of the earth then. And it makes up less than 1% of the earth by mass, consisting of oceanic and continental crust, and is often more felsic, which is silicate material, and magma rock. Now magma is basically the hot molten material that comes up from below the earth's surface via many means, such as through fissures and cracks, through volcanoes, due to earthquakes, etc. The next layer, or the second layer of the earth, is known as the mantle, and the mantle is hot, and this represents about 68% of the earth's mass. The next layer that makes up the earth is the core, and the core makes up the inner core and the outer core. The core is mostly made of iron metal. Now we will go into each part in detail, and I would encourage you to write as much note as you can in understanding this. The crust. The crust is the first and the smallest layer of the earth's surface. The crust, I may add, is where we live, and it makes up our ocean and major land masses. So Earth's outer layer surface is its crust, a cold, thin, brittle outer shell made of rocks. The crust is very thin relative to the radius of the planet. There are two very different types of crust, each with its own distinctive physical and chemical properties. So the first type is the oceanic crust, and this is composed of magma that erupts on the seafloor to create a basalt lava flow, or cools deeper to create an intrusive igneous rock gravel. Sediments, primarily mud and shells of tiny sea creatures, coat the seafloor. This is what makes up that brown sand. Okay? Sediments is thickest near to the shore when it comes off the continents, rivers, and on wind currents. So when we say to the shore, like if you go to the beach, you find it a lot. You see the sand on the beach, that is a sediment deposit. The oceanic crust is in essence all the oceans and seas that makes up the earth's surface. Then we move on to the continental crust, and this is made up of different types of igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary rocks. This we will look at in our next lesson this week, which will be on the different rock types. Igneous rocks are rocks that are made of molten material. Metamorphic rock are those mixed with igneous and sedimentary rocks, and sedimentary rocks are those that have a sand-like quality. The average composition is granite, which is much less dense than the mafic igneous rocks of the oceanic crust. Because it is thick and has relatively low density, continental crust rises higher on the mantle than the oceanic crust, which sinks into the mantle to form basins. When filled with water, these basins forms the planet's ocean. So the fact that the rocks in the continental crust are lighter, they tend to float up above the denser oceanic crust. So this is why we have land masses above sea. And if you drill deeply into the earth's into a landmass or ground, as we are standing on, if you drill deep down, you will find waterways and wells. So that alone is standalone evidence that we are resting on water. Now we speak about the mantle. And the two most important things about the mantle that we need to make note of is the fact that it is made up of solid rock and it is very hot. Scientists know that the mantle is made up of rock based on evidence from seismic waves, heat flows, and meteorites. The properties fit the ultramafic rock peridotite, which is made up of iron and magnesium rich silicate materials. So, the fact that this rock is made up of iron and magnesium makes it dense, which forms a solid. And mind you, this rock is also hot because the fact that it is so close to the core of the earth, which is the hottest part, this creates a hot layer in the mantle. Now we move on to that part of the structure of the earth then known as the core. And the core consists of the inner and the outer core. At the planet's center lies a dense metallic core. Scientists know that the core is a metal for a few reasons. The density of the Earth's surface layers is much less than the overall density of the planet. As calculated from the planet's rotation, if the surface layer are less dense than average, then the interior must be denser than average. So the fact that the Earth's core is very dense accounts for the rotation in which the Earth turns. Now, the structure of the Earth is made up in such a way that the lighter material is at the forefront, and then the denser material goes, and the most dense material is found at the center. So I hope you understand this lesson on the structure of the Earth. I like to think about it like a cake with different layers. And based on that, we form the crust, the mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. Think about the crust as the icing on the cake. Think about the mantle as a different flavor of a cake. Think about the outer and inner core as a jelly filling or something. So this makes up the Earth's crust, the mantle, and the core. And this forms the structure of the Earth. So thank you for watching this video tutorial.